What
It
you're
really
saying
does
is not
suck.
wrong. In retrospect,
Hmm.
looking back, we can see that the announcement of a reboot did hurt everything.
Yes.
But
The
logically
leak
speaking,
first, which he denied was accurate, and it was kind of accurate.
what leak? What are we
What
talking
leak?
about?
James Gunn was responding to a leak in like Deadline or Hollywood Reporter that they're going to reboot, and that's where he started talking about it. He wasn't going to come out then.
Yeah, but the point is, nobody could have predicted ahead of time that that would have this effect because, as I've said many times, all of these movies tell a standalone start, middle, and end story, regardless if they continue or not. So I don't think anybody could have predicted that people would go, oh, well, if it doesn't count, I'm not going to go see it. Because quite frankly, I think that's a stupid argument because every one of these movies, even if they don't continue, they still told a story. And if you want to see a story,
We
they gave it
consistently
to you.
disagree on this point, Joe. I don't think it absolutely needs to, but I think the audience rewards storytelling where you
I,
hint at the future, and it's kind of like a soap opera. You have to see every episode. It works in these universes.
That's
I
bad for
know
cinema, in my opinion.
what's that, Joe?
That's in my
I,
opinion, that's bad for cinema.
I
Well,
find
that's
I
what's
find this
worked.
I find this so weird. People want everything to be connected in the Marvel universe, and when it is, they're like, "Oh, maybe we should get some solo projects." But DC doesn't get the same love when it comes to their solo project. That not everything has to lead somewhere. You can have fun with what's in front of you.
Doesn't have to, but isn't that what the audience is rewarding? Look
Not
at the
not for
success.
DC for years.
Look at the successful movie universes. What do we have as the successful ones? Not the ones that failed.
Degrassi.
The MCU and the MonsterVerse. Whether people want to admit it or not, MonsterVerse is a success. It all connects. It hints at the future. It gives little Easter eggs. What was one of the first things that Marvel did? I'm going to ask the Ellis. What was one of the first things Marvel did to hint at the future and start this buzz about everyone needs a universe? The end credits sequence that hints at the future and connects things. Yeah, remember in Iron Man when you had Nick Fury? That excited people. No, not everything has to be connected, but it helps if a lot is. It helps if your main stuff's connected.
If Degrassi's right and we're getting cooey, then I'm very excited.
How many times have you had the audience say, I don't want to watch this TV show to know what's going on in this movie. I don't want to go back to watch this. It's too much homework. I don't want to do homework for our movies.
Well, that's, I think, where they faltered on MCU was definitely quality. And then they kind of said that you had to watch it, but then you realize watching these shows, they really didn't matter in the MCU. I think that also broke the illusion.
First of all,
I think before that, go ahead, Deal.
First of all, going back to that end credit scene you were talking about in the first Iron Man. First of all, when that was coming out, nobody really took that seriously. That first credit scene, they just thought, that's just another stinger, man. They did.
No,
there are other movies that did that, and nothing came of it until that point. Also, nobody would have cared about that end credit scene if the movie wasn't great.
True.
You know what?
But having a mid movie and no end credit scenes would be worse.
Let me give you another example. Let me give you another example of a movie that tried to do the same thing, that did the exact same thing, and they were in the exact same position and they crashed and burned. Green Lantern. They did the exact same thing. They had an end credit scene leading up to something, and nobody gave a shit about it.
What made Iron Man work, and I've said this many, many, many times, was the Hulk. You had Iron Man and the Hulk open a month apart, and you ended Iron Man with that one stinger, and then you had Tony Stark show up in the Hulk. So people immediately saw how these things were going to connect.
Yeah.
And I said, anyone trying to create an established universe going forward would be smart to release 2 movies in the same year as your proof of concept. Because
but nothing in the DC was connecting at the end. Nothing.
They were all connecting.
How?
What do you mean? They were all in a shared universe.
They weren't connecting well. It was disjointed. I mean, it was you had
what
Wonder
was,
Woman
what
for a second.
disjointed?
What was connecting, Joe? What was connecting?
Wonder Woman was
Wonder
in all
Woman,
those
yeah.
movies, and it was a shared universe. These characters all.
What is
like,
all those movies? What is all those movies you're talking about?
What are you
What is
talking
all
about?
those movies?
All the DCEU movies,
No,
starting
she
with
wasn't.
Man of Steel, ending with Aquaman 2.
What? What? What?
That's a shared universe.
The only movie she appeared in was Batman v Superman and Shazam 2. What are you talking about?
She was in Justice League. She was in Wonder Woman.
After Wonder Woman,
Wayne was in
after
Suicide
Justice
Squad.
Why are
League.
you counting her own movie of? Never.
Because it's a shared universe. They were all connected.
Wonder Woman 84 didn't share much of anything with anything.
Well, yeah, that was a prequel. That was set in the 80s.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There was nothing properly connecting, Joe. Come on now.
What
This
are you
is not
talking about?
making any sense? She hasn't made appearance in other people's movies other than
You're fixating on Wonder
other-
Woman. You're fixating on Wonder Woman.
because you brought it up. What you mean?
My ears, please, guys.
It's all right. DL's passionate.
What do you call it? We saw Aquaman and Aquaman's dad in The Flash. We saw Wonder Woman and Batman in The Flash. We saw The Flash and Wonder Woman and all of them together in Justice League. We saw
Flash
Bruce
is the
Wayne
only
show up in Suicide Squad.
Flash
We
is
saw
the
Beast
only
Man.
one that did that, but just to end it.
It was they were all connected. I mean, it was a shared universe.
Ezra Miller even showed up in the CW show.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't well done in my opinion, at least.
Doesn't matter. He still showed up.
The execution was off.
So that's what you
The execution was off.
At this point.
We'll take what we can get. All right.
No, that's not good enough.
What do you
want all
want?
this money? You got to bring it.
What do you
Yeah, they
want?
did bring it. They brought it. No one came.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Crisis
Having
on-
shadowy
Crisis on
figures at the end,
Infinite Earth was
and then we're going to
amazing.
get to the blaming Cavill. Having shadowy figures at the end of Shazam or the end of Peacemaker, where only half of them show up, is not really a strong showing.
Well, what do you want? Do you want them all to show up?
Actually, to show up, yes.
Well, that was unrealistic.
No, it's not. MCU did it.
Oh, what's it? Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck? Ben Affleck, who'd already quit at that point,
No.
and
He was back for a Flash after that.
Soupy Boy, who didn't have a contract. They were all just going to show up for
Soupy
like
Boy.
5
Soupy
seconds
Boy.
in the series.
This is Superman, your most
Right.
popular character besides Batman, and you can't get him to show.
You can say
no.
you can say Aquaman was more popular than
No.
than Cavill.
And
Just
Superman.
saying.
That's true.
Just saying.
Come on.
Yes, come on, Max.
And now
Really?
we're not going to get to the blaming Cavill again, but not having
I'm
Superman
not blaming Cavill.
is a consistent through your movies. This is a failure.
No.
I don't know who put that up there.
I put that up. That's my statement. I'm taking that one.
Well, I don't blame him for if I saw the movies as they were, I would have rebooted it too. But I don't know what he took out of the movies though. I don't know what he took out. Look at Aaron too. What the heck is this? Everyone called me a gun hater. Now Aaron and Bruce. Bruce.
Oh no. Well, Brucifer is right, but the point is, it wasn't something that could have been predicted.
Well, I don't have to hate Gunn to hate what he did. You know,
I mean,
fine.
there might have
doing
been
what he
something
does.
really amazing that was left out of these movies, but I don't see it honestly.
Left
Like
out.
I would have loved to see the Dolph Lundgren version of Aquaman 2 that he was referring to, but
Oh,
even
I-
if I saw that, I don't think
I'm not
there
interested
was
in
much.
version
I
at all.
don't think there was much saving here. The only thing that was worth saving for me was to the point where we saw Black Adam and got the JSA together. And I know people had issues with the villain at the end of Black Adam.
And that was the right move, Isaac. Superman should have been sidelined. That was because Justice League was a failure.
But
Hamada came in and made the right decision to sideline most of the Justice League characters. while
How
he
was that the
focused
right
on-
decision?
How is that the right decision?
Because it was a smart move.
No,
made
it
the-
obviously wasn't.
How is it not? Because what he
Look
did
where
was
we're at.
working. What he did was working. He said,
Are you saying sidelining the Justice League after you assemble them is a smart move?
absolutely. It was the brilliant move because the Justice League failed. The Justice League failed, and it was a toxic
Not
property.
not worse than everything else after.
It was a toxic property, and he realized that the smart thing to do was concentrate on standalone movies, get the quality back up, and
Which
then
didn't happen.
it did happen. Are you kidding?
No, I'm
Look
not.
at the tomato meter. I got the tomato meter right here.
The tomatoes. Look, no one puts stock in Rotten Tomatoes until you want to use it for your narrative.
Hey,
Okay,
you repeated
well,
my
Rotten-
words from last
Rotten
week.
Tomatoes is
the hell?
inarguable. You can't argue with Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, you can.
No,
The
it is.
audience,
It's
the
an-
audience
it's-
score you can. People that
The,
actually saw
the
movie,
audience
not take
score
stock
doesn't
in that.
count. Yeah, the audience score doesn't count.
Well,
The
it does
critic
count.
score, the critic, well, only if it's a verified score. But
Yes.
the critic score is a verified score of all the critics' ratings, and whether you agree with them or not, it's always accurate.
Come on, go ahead.
Hey,
Joey.
Voltaire.
Hi and hello, everybody.
Hi and hello. We're having a heated
Damn you.
argument about not heated. We're it's all good.
I'm
fun.
feeling
Uh,
I'm fuming right now. But
You're
go ahead.
fuming.
I'm
Yeah,
fuming.
Joe just said that
Go have a rum
Hamada,
and coke, please.
Hamada did the right thing by sidelining the Justice League.
Yeah, I've been saying it for years. I said Hamada did everything right because
No.
he inherited a toxic property that had failed.
You still are putting all this blame on Justice League movie.
Well, to be fair,
Yeah.
when
But
the-
meanwhile, you want the characters from the Justice League to continue, Joe. This is how ridiculous what you're saying is. You want the characters, that
The
Gal
ones-
Gadot, she is in the Justice League, you know,
Yeah.
them to continue, but you
She
want to
didn't get
sideline the
sidelined.
Justice League.
She didn't get sidelined. Why? Her movie worked.
I will say this:
Again,
when
you were just ignoring Wonder Woman 84 like
Wha-
that didn't happen.
What didn't work about Batman and Superman?
really,
The movie failed.
really,
They were all in
Batman-
the same movie.
Batman v Superman was a despised movie. The audience hated that movie.
Gal Gadot was in that too.
Yes, but then she was in Wonder Woman and everyone loved it.
Yeah, but you sideline. It doesn't make sense to me.
Superman, Batman did not
You
have a
never
successful
sidelined
DC.
Batman and Superman. If anyone
No,
says
that was the right move.
legitimately you can have a universe and you
Uh,
sideline Batman, Superman, that
let me
was
know-
you just figured out the whole freaking problem. Sideline Batman and Superman, but the rest of the Justice League continue is what you're saying.
let me just say this:
I'm saying that was the right move.
back when those movies came out. I wasn't really going to the movie theaters, and I was in a locker room with 50 to 60 guys. Batman v Superman
your
was
dreams.
Batman v Superman was the biggest joke in the locker room. How bad
It
DC
doesn't-
had fallen, how bad that
I
line
remember.
was. Martha, my mom's name is Martha. That was
Oh, I
the
love that
running
scene.
joke. People hated DC.
but
after
let's
that.
Yeah.
let's
It
get
was
real
the same
world.
thing in my office. It was the
back.
same
So
thing in my
Zipper,
office.
you're claiming
sidelining Batman, Superman. If you agree that Hamada did that, that is the biggest effing mistake, and that's probably where that was the final nail.
That was the
They
right
did
move.
they did sideline. It was a horrible move.
No, it was
One
the
of the
right
worst
move.
things you could ever do.
And if
Nope.
you're saying that Wonder Woman could recover from Batman v Superman, being in Batman v Superman and coming out with her movie
But
and everybody
Cavill
loved
and
it,
Sup-
why
but-
can't Cavill and Affleck do the same thing?
Yes. Yes.
They could. They could. That's
The
my
Flash.
point. That's the point. He made the right move to sideline them in order to rehabilitate their image because those movies were toxic. He
No.
had to make the audience forget about those movies they hated. And the way to do that was to build the DCEU up with movies that people liked. Aquaman worked. Shazam worked. Birds of Prey wasn't a box office hit, but it was a certified fresh on the tomato meter. He started getting solid reviews. And if you ask Kevin Feige,
Reviews
Kevin
is all he
Feige-
got. Reviews
Kevin
is all he got.
Feige
Joe.
said in the past, the only thing that mattered to him, and this is Kevin Feige, the greatest successful producer that we've ever had. He said the only thing that ever mattered to him was getting
that'd be
certified
Captain
freshes on
Kennedy.
Rotten Tomatoes. He said getting
That's-
certified freshes on Rotten Tomatoes was all that mattered to him. So when Hamada took over, they started getting positive critic score. The box office wasn't there, but what was happening is they were making solid movies that were then going to Netflix, then going to other places. People were skeptical of DC, rightfully, because they hated those early movies. Then suddenly they start seeing these movies. The whole image of the DCEU was starting to be rehabilitated, which would have then put them in a perfect position to reintroduce Batman and Superman once the toxicity of those early movies went away. And that was the plan. He said, we're going to bring them all back, connect them later. And that was going to start in The Flash. His plan was working beautifully until COVID shut down the theaters. And then Warner Brothers made the crucial error of putting out the Snyder Cut, which dragged up
Which
old arguments
rehabilitated
again.
Superman and Batman.
It dragged up the same
No,
old
for-
arguments.
which
It
for
brought
those
back
that-
the
Superman and
toxicity,
Batman.
and it killed everything.
For those that could sit through 4 hours of Zack Snyder's movie, it may have, but the general audience did not sit through 4 hours of that movie.
No, the
So they
studies
do
showed
not
people
know.
didn't even watch the whole movie. People tuned out because they didn't like it.
My dear
And
Lord.
besides, Ben Affleck was an addict at the time. He was not coming back to do Batman anytime after.
He
the
came back
Justice
for the
League.
Flash.
How many years later was that?
So
And that was to be
He
written
was
out. He
clean.
agreed.
What's wrong with
He
you, Max?
agreed. He
Addict.
agreed
He said-
to come back to be written out.
Urgh.
you don't
And
know
he
that.
did additional scenes for the Snyder Cut.
And he did seeds for Aquaman. Does that sound like he only came back to be written out?
Yeah.
They said they were going to do one more rodeo. And then when Cavill was done, when they took Cavill out of after Black Adam,
Oh, incoming.
after Black Adam and Cavill was announced, and then Cavill was then they brought on James Gunn and they said, no, it's not going to happen. Then they interviewed Affleck and he's like, well, no, I'm out now if Cavill's not coming back too. After that,
Look at the tomato meter there. Look at the
I
tomato
don't
meter there.
care.
The only film from the early ones that got a positive score was Wonder Woman. And then you get to the later ones. The only one under Hamada that got a negative score was, oddly enough, also Wonder
In the
Woman.
box office is the complete in the box office, the